Savannah Chrisley complains that her parents' sentence is similar to that of a murderer. Savannah Chrisley is furious after discovering that a murderer's sentence is similar to the one her father received and is currently serving. Chrisley's parents, Todd and Julie, were sentenced to a total of 19 years in prison in June 2022 after being found guilty of fraud and tax evasion. She rushed to her Instagram account to rant about the awful situation while seeking immediate answers. The Chrisley family appears to be having a difficult time adjusting to their parents' imprisonment at the start of 2023. Taking to her Instagram story, Savannah, who happens to be the second-born of Todd and Julie, posted a breaking news headline about a murderer who got convicted for his offense. Alongside the headline was a mugshot of the convicted killer. The headline report read, "A man who confronted, shot, and killed another man who was walking with his 2 children last year was sentenced Wednesday to 13 years in prison." Comparing the sentencing with that of her father, Todd, who is currently doing his 12-year sentence in Florida at the federal prison Camp Pensacola for tax and fraud evasion, the reality TV star seemed pretty pissed with the similarity of sentencing between her father and the convicted killer. Demanding an explanation for the severity of punishment meted out to the patriarch of Chrisley knows best, she highlighted her remarks in red letters, writing, make it make sense." Savannah then posted a video in which she expresses her feelings. "There's something I really want to address regarding the last item I posted," she explained. "I'm getting responses that he pled guilty, so you're telling me he pled guilty to killing a human life?" She continued, "As a result, the sentence does not need to be as long. We live in a world where money is more valuable than human life." The Chrisley Knows Best star appeared to be struggling to accept the reality of her parents' conviction. According to The Blast, Savannah expressed her displeasure with her parents' punishments, which differed from that of television personality Jen Shah, who was also accused of a crime comparable to that of her famous parents. During a pre-recorded episode of her Unlocked podcast, the actress brought up several important issues after comparing Shah's sentence to her parents'. She pointed out that Shah's sentence was just 6.5 years, significantly less than Todd and Julie's combined 19-year term. "Put the cases side by side, and it makes no sense, it just doesn't," she stated, expressing her anger. To support her claim, she stated that Shah's misdeeds were even worse than her parents because Shah left actual victims. The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City alum telemarketing operation preyed on the elderly, stealing their incomes and homes. Todd and Julie, on the other hand, were found guilty of bank fraud and tax evasion, which they reportedly used to fund their extravagant lifestyles. There were hundreds of victims who were old, and people who submitted statements that lost their houses, threatened to end their lives, Chrisley added in the podcast episode. "There were so many things, and she only had 6.5 years. That makes sense." Chrisley's built-up barriers look to be falling fast, and the TV personality isn't hiding her emotions from the audience. Savannah previously discussed her feelings following her parents' sentencing on her Unlocked podcast. She admitted to having had a very difficult time while her parents were away. She also mentioned how difficult it was for her to deal with the 53-year-old and his wife, Julie, starting their prison sentences. She mentioned that this episode was shot on January 12th, 5 days before her parents were scheduled to report to prison. "So for those of you who are familiar with my family and have followed our lives as well as my podcast, you know that last week was an extraordinarily difficult week for my family as a whole and for each of us individually," Savannah explained. "We kind of had to say goodbye to my parents for a little amount of time, for the foreseeable future," he continued, "and that was really difficult." Chrisley went on to say that the podcast episode only appeared happy-go-lucky because she finished taping it before her life fell apart. Furthermore, she stated, "I suppose it's because there was a lot of hope, and I wasn't confronted with the reality of the situation."